Okay, at this time I'd like to open up the meeting of the Carver Conservation Commission for Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. There are some items on our agenda under discussion and business which are kind of housekeeping, which will move to the end of the list so that we can get right into some of the more important issues. So we're going to start with the first one, Lot 201A, Tremont Street, the wall.
Sign in, Dan.
Is it one page?
Okay. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Well, good evening. Good to see you all again. I've looked at everything we've done, everything we've talked about. I've heard what everybody said, and I took some ideas of my own, and I come up with a plan that I think would satisfy what we're all hoping to achieve. I still stabilize my wall, but you never see the walls again. And we think with this plan, we can do the work very, very quickly and save a lot of time and take advantage possibly this season if the water ever drops for us a little. So I'm gonna let Rob explain what we've done, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions I can after.
Rob DeRozier, ASAP Engineering, I'm a consultant structural engineer. And I'm familiar with what Danny's trying to accomplish here, and I've spoken with an excavator who's going to be doing the work, and been up to date sort of on what you guys are looking for in terms of a finished product. And what this does is this takes care of both walls, it eliminates them. The idea is to drop them in place to minimize the amount of traffic in and out, and the amount of demolition that needs to be done. We trench behind and in front of each wall in one section at a time, drop it into the trench, bury it with existing native materials, reestablish the slope that's there at a reasonable slope, put jute mesh on it to stabilize it, plant it with wetlands mix and wild blueberry at the top, put some wattles at the bottom to prevent erosion at the toe of slope, and let it stabilize and then get out of there. The idea is that that work can be done in 2 or 3 days with minimal disruption, minimal beach effect, and you end up with a nice slope there that'll behave itself over a long period of time once it's vegetated.
Interesting.
The jute material has worked incredibly well on the steep wall in the back and the wall in the front where we put it. It's really worked well. And the vegetation, it's funny, everyone thinks the top wall is gone already, and it's not. It's just grown up in the jungle. So it really, really has worked extremely well. The only thing I'd like to add to what Rob said was we're going to go with 6 layers of jute because of the constant water coming, and that'll all erode away within, they tell me within 2 years it'll all be nothing there of it at all, but everything will be totally established.
All right, comments from anyone? Yes.
So the old wall is gonna, you're gonna retain that, and you're gonna put that under the slope, hold the
Yep.
slope?
Tip it over.
Huh?
Gonna tip it over.
Tip it over, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, two purposes to that. One is it eliminates a tremendous amount of running back and forth in the resource area.
Oh, okay.
And all the demolition.
Yep.
And then the material is there to help anchor the slope long term.
Okay, so we do, okay, I see what you mean.
And then the amount of native sand we'll have to bring to finish, it'll be really, really minimized.
Okay. Anybody, Dan, have anything?
In terms of this one part of the overall issue, I don't necessarily have much of a problem with. But this body has had, made note that this is one of a handful of issues with this overall project. So if I can leave my comments to later, see what we're gonna address and when, that'd be great.
Okay. Peg, you have anything?
If it works. The only fear is, it was the if,
We don't think there's an if.
okay?
It's really, if you went back out there now, and you're more than welcome to, you would not believe how well that top took. It needs to be mowed. And in these
Wow.
pounding rains we've had in the last couple of days, it hasn't moved anything.
Looks very encouraging.
One quick question, to the engineer, there's no concern about channeling, dropping the section down, there's no concern about channeling underneath that part that you're dropping down?
Channeling?
With water drainage, yeah.
Well, the soil's extremely porous, and we expect this block wall is gonna break up into relatively small sections, and it's natural Carver stone, so it should behave itself like cobbled stone.
So when you drop it, you'll break it up in place dropped, or you're expecting?
Yeah, we expect it'll follow, it's an unreinforced stone wall, it's relatively small, it does not have a base on it.
Gotcha, okay.
So it's gonna break up.
And we're gonna dig deep enough to have it at least a foot buried. I mean, because the chair had said he didn't, and Alan had mentioned it, we didn't want to see it again after 2 or 3 big rains, and I agree. We want to end it.
Yeah, and we're gonna extend the jute mesh and the planting all the way up to the foundation for the deck. So the top is slope, which is beyond the inland bank.
The deck that wasn't part of the original plans, that deck?
It was on the original submission.
It wasn't a full foundation.
No, it was individual piers.
That's correct. And that's not what's in there now.
That's correct.
That's correct. So that next
That's-
year we can come back and try to put it and close it and call it a 3-season room. This is,
Can't hear you,
this
Alan.
project, may I?
Yes, go right ahead.
This is, I gotta be the bad guy. And I hate this. I hate being the bad guy. But there's a gentleman standing behind you that's building a house right next door that's gonna want the same view that you now enjoy, that we will not allow him to have. Because he'll go out there and cut trees down, come back in before this commission and say, see that beautiful house next door? They have a view, why can't I have one?
Can you bring it down?
What's that got to do with this, Alan? I don't understand.
It has everything to do with it. You weren't supposed to pour a foundation for that deck. You were never supposed to put in 2 walls. And now we're trying to put all this back in the horse and give you an after-the-fact okey dokie. And I got a problem with that. We're establishing a horrific precedent.
Are we just wasting time here? If that's what we're doing, just say it, please.
I'm only one vote. This is my opinion. I'm entitled to it. This is our meeting, not yours. This is our meeting.
And that's fine.
You've been down this road with us before. You know exactly where we were all coming from in unison. So, this is where we're at, Danny.
Well, what would you suggest?
Well,
What did you say today, Mr. Chairman? What was your comment today? We have bylaws,
we have bylaws.
so we're not gonna follow them anymore.
No, what we're gonna do actually, it's something that I'm gonna bring up later, that we can no longer be the good guy. We have to follow the rules. We're no longer, you've already filed this, but I think that something that we need to vote on as a board at some point, in our next meeting perhaps, is that we will no longer issue after the fact NOIs. If something is done without a notice of intent, it has to come out, and then you file a notice of intent.
Start over.
And, yeah, so we're not gonna do any more after the fact, if the board agrees to that. There are two things here. Number one, the solution for the two walls, I think it's clever, I think it's great, I think it accomplishes everything we asked you to do.
And we worked real hard to get there, believe me.
And it's a great idea, it truly is, and I think it's gonna take care of our concerns that there's not going to be a visible wall that everybody else on the pond is gonna say, I want one of those too.
And I agree with that.
And this is exactly where I think we were talking about at the very beginning when this project first came, that we wanted the slope and grasses and no walls, because that was never part of the plan. What concerns me a little bit is the fact that I believe on your original plans, the supports for the decks were sonotubes. And now it's if I'm hearing this correctly, now it's a linear foundation that goes the full width of the house?
After we got the first big storm, one of those slumped sideways in the sand just from the weight of it, and they were all like bowling pins in every direction.
And why didn't you come back to us to tell us you needed to make a change?
Because the guy that did that pulled them out with an excavator. And when I brought him out and said, what the heck is this? And he said, well, you're building in the sand, what do you want from me? So
That doesn't answer the question of why you didn't come back to us. That tells me that you're an excavator. The original thing that you told me was that it was your original surveyor that told you could build walls. And now you're telling me it's your excavator's fault that you don't have sonotubes. That disturbs me. The fact that the plans we approved are not what you built.
Where's the original plan? You got it? A copy that we signed.
As you know, when we originally, your original plan for the house and even your secondary plan for the house was based on the footprint of the previous house, which you've managed to stay within without your decks. And there was a deck on the original house. However, right now the decks are open. You know, enclosing them, making them 3 seasons, putting screens on them, changes the footprint.
we're not gonna
now-
enclose them. We have no intention of ever doing that.
Well,
The next owner.
we
Yeah,
can
next
put that
one.
in the order of conditions that it can't be done.
12/27.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
To be clear, the pilings were one thing, when they were there, and if they were not there beforehand, they were essentially grandfathered in. If they were not there, I can't say what this body would approve or not approve of having them put in the first place, being that close to the pond. But, you know, this, I understand his reasoning for putting in the linear, foundation, but again, that's also something that I can't see this body approving. And having, also being someone who has done work in Carver before, I can't speak for him either, but my guess is that he also knew how we would likely vote for that. And I would guess that's why it didn't come before us.
I've never worked in Carver before. I bought pre-existing houses, numerous in Carver, but this is the first time I ever built one. Anywhere, not just Carver, anywhere.
The original building permit for the house had piers for the deck. They were 12-inch sonotubes that sat on 24-inch diameter Bigfoot footings at about 9'8" or 10-foot spacing along the front of that. What the foundation guy installed and backfilled was just sonotubes with no Bigfoot footing. so they began to fail. That's how we end up there.
Well, and also if you tried putting in the size and height of the decking that's in there now with those, it would have failed.
Well,
Structurally, the tubes that you're explaining were there. There's no way that they would hold the
3-story deck.
monstrosity of a deck that is there now, which is why that linear foundation was put
So
in.
much on the water.
Seeing what's built there now, I understand why you did the foundation for the deck the way you did it. That's not my question. It's not a question of understanding why you did it. The question that I have is, when you changed your plans, why didn't you come back to us? And it seems to be an ongoing issue. You built 2 walls without coming to us. You built a foundation that no one knew about it until there was a site visit a month ago. And, you know, we're not here to tell people that it's okay to, we're gonna approve what you've already built. That's not why we're here. We're here to look at things. Dan is probably right. We probably would have questioned this linear foundation. We would have looked at it. I'm not saying it would have been a no vote or a yes vote. But we approved sonotubes, knowing that they were similar to what was there before holding up the previous spec. So, this is just, it's upsetting that this is the way this happened, more than it being, I don't know how much additional impact this will have on the shore or the wetlands. It's just that we never approved it. We never saw it, we never approved it, and now it's there, and it's holding up 3 stories worth of wood timbers. So, I don't know where we go here. Does anyone have any suggestions of what we should do here? This is,
I think we're back to that, let's ask forgiveness instead of permission.
well, I'm sick of that.
The solution is an easy one, but an ugly one. If we're gonna be fair to every person that comes before this body, then we have to press the rewind button with things that were done that should not have been done. What does that mean? It means move forward with your plan of getting the wall down and take the deck down. Doesn't belong there, nor does that linear foundation. Then you can come back and we can talk about moving forward, just like we should with everyone else.
If the problem with the deck is the foundation, when we take the foundation out, go back to the original pier foundations, pier concept.
You just can't have a 3-tier deck. I mean,
That's
that's an
not-
engineering question as to how much piers will handle weight-wise, but
That's, I mean.
That's not for
It's
us.
not us.
Yeah.
It's whatever, you know, they'll have engineers who can figure out what it is.
So if,
Is there a way to retrofit that wall? I mean, you already have now, you have like a footer going across the width, correct?
yes,
Can you take sections of that footer and use them to put sonotubes on it? Would that make it more?
yes, it's reinforced, so you could do that.
Okay, so maybe what you do is you come back in with a new design showing sonotubes on top of sections of the horizontal footers that are under there to hold up the deck as it is. Does that seem like a,
And then take out the other sections?
take out
So
the
you
rest,
just
take
have
out the
pieces
middle,
of-
so you just have the sonotubes.
Pieces of
But they'll be a
foundation.
little deeper
Right.
and they'll be on a horizontal
Yeah.
footing that wasn't on the original plans. We were just in new plans showing a redesign of the sonotubes.
Yeah,
But then it's only that footprint of the sonotubes.
right, so so you're not getting a solid.
Is that something that is amenable? Do you think that's something that could be accomplished?
See the original, are we saying take the wall all the way down to the footing out, or just cut out every place to put a sonotube?
Actually,
You
Well-
probably have to take it down and then put sonotubes back, because you'd have to reinforce it
Well-
to get the load.
I mean, I suppose you could just maintain you could cut the sections in between where the sonotubes are instead of taking out the vertical wall and just use what's there. I don't know if that would be structurally
Well, could we
sound.
cut it to where it's below the earth? Why take away another wall that's protecting the house in itself?
Because it
It's
wasn't
not
approved
you, it's
here.
the next guy. It's the next guy who comes
I'm
in
the
and says,
this
look
guy
what I
right
did.
now.
What's
And
that?
I said, I'm the guy that's here right now. And the thing I think we're missing a lot is, we're not building in dirt there, and we're not building gravel, it's pure sand. As far as you wanna dig, it's sand.
But you knew what you was told us you were building. If what you were told us was building is not gonna hold up in the sand, then you come back to us and say, I gotta do something different.
Well,
You don't build it and then come to us.
I asked you guys that, I think it was the meeting of the 18th, that I could continue on with the decks, and you guys said yes. And now the decks are going on saying no. And I know that because I've studied the tapes when I was putting together this plan to try to use pieces of everyone's idea. Peg had an idea to lower it a little bit to where it wasn't so high. And Mr. Chair, you had the same idea. And Alan made a tremendous argument of why it was so important we had to hold the top wall. No one could have did a better argument.
You do have to hold the top one.
So we used all of that to try to come up with a way to make this work. And
All right, when we were talking on the 18th, in every previous meeting, the top wall was the second wall away from the water.
right.
This wall that's holding up your decks, I didn't know existed until after the meeting of the 18th.
Well,
We
I mean,
were
I
under the
understand,
impression it was sonotubes.
I
'cause
understand what you're saying, but the sonotubes were there, and we paid to put them there, and they were all over the place after one big rain. And
I understand that. But you come back to us and say, look, we got a problem, we gotta fix it. Let us vote on it, instead of putting us in this predicament of having you have to jump through hoops now on something that you've already built.
well,
I'm sorry to do this, but this is,
doable.
Let's do it. I said do it.
All right, we'll do it.
okay,
But here's my question,
yes,
and it's my only question.
yes.
It's going to make a hell of a lot of work to take that out, because there's steel in that one, there's not steel in any of the others. So can we cut it down a couple of feet, so it's gonna be totally buried, and rest our sonotubes on that?
What's the favor of the board?
I would be in favor of leaving it where it is right now, let it hold the house back. And it's in the order of conditions that under no circumstances ever can this become a 3-season, let's close it in, the foundation's already there, we wanna make it a sunroom.
I'll sign that in blood.
It is what it is. To have him go this close to the house and start in there with saws and excavators to dig out pieces of reinforced concrete that he wants to cut down below the grade in order to bury it, only so that later on you can uncover it and bring it back up to spec again. It's there.
It's gonna make.
So unless it's gonna completely go away, it's gonna serve no function in just cutting it down a couple of feet to make everybody feel good.
That's a lot of disturbance on the.
It's a tremendous
on the
amount of
bank.
disturbance.
On the bank.
I hate this, don't get me wrong, but short of what Dan said, take the deck off the house and rip the whole thing back out and let it go back to nature, I don't know so I don't believe that you can put sonotubes, you're gonna need 24-inch sonotubes.
That's what we had.
That was on the plan.
I get it. And I get that he should have come back here and said, the sonotubes don't work, we now have to have a foundation. There would have been more discussion, maybe the deck would have been smaller. Maybe the deck wouldn't have gone 3 stories, maybe, who knows? The argument is not what you've built, the place is gorgeous. The argument is that you did it all without permission, and now it's an after the fact. Can we do this, can you pass us, can you give us a variance on this? And then the next guy sits back and says, what the hell do I have to go to conservation for? I just build what I want and do what Danny did.
Well, and if he's lucky, there'll be a state totally shut down with a virus that no one can control, and a bunch of stuff already bought and piled up being paid for that you can't do anything with. You couldn't talk to anybody, you couldn't get anything. I'm going through the same thing in Wareham with the marina I'm trying to build. A whole year to get 1 permit. But I get it, and believe me, I've learned my lesson.
We've got solar projects, Danny, that are 3 years in the making here because of the same thing, with hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in it, and they're still doing it the right way. They're not just building a solar field and coming in and say, hey, by the way, you guys were out last week, so we built a solar field. Is this okay? They're not doing that. They're going through the hoops. This is what everybody's had to go through the hoops. I sympathize. I get it. When nobody on this board is stupid, and nobody on this board is not caring about what happened. The place looks great. It's the same thing I've been preaching for 4 years on this committee. It's never you. It's the next 5 people behind you. And they point in reverse. And they say, but I think about what we put the Hannulars through on doing a simple rebuild of an existing concrete wall. We made them redesign it because what they wanted to change to didn't set with the way we wanted to have the effect on the pond. And then this comes along, and this is completely, let's just build this and keep our fingers crossed. And that's where the whole, it's not personal, this is where the whole problem comes in. Because then we have to tell the next guy, well, yeah, but you know what, he got a spanking for this, but we still can't let you do it. And the next guy says, well, I'll take a spanking. I want to be able to build this. And if I were on the water next to you, I'd be before this board saying the same thing. I'd be pointing to your house. I'd come in with pictures. And I'd say, what do you mean I can't cut a tree down? Look. So this is where the problem comes from. Yeah, you took down some trees.
Not without permission.
He's right.
Not a one.
No, you're right.
Not a
You're
one
right.
that I cut.
You're right. Yeah, there was a tree growing through the deck. We said that.
Yeah, that one. There was 2 more on the other side.
They were full of ants, and those were already down. Those stumps had been there for years. Matter of fact, Mr.
You didn't have an unobstructed view of the whole pond. Existing.
I had a tree in the corner. It was full of ants and broken, and we got that one approved to take down. And the very next storm, the other one on the other side cracked and split, and it came down. And then we cleaned that one up. And I didn't do any of that. I hired a tree service that organized it all to do it with you guys. So it's not like I went out there with a chainsaw and started chopping the trees down. I think you guys all know how I feel about chopping the trees down. I hope you do.
I know you have an enviable water view. I know there are a lot of people in that pond that are envious of the view and would like to have the same view.
Well,
And you know,
They
it's
should
a
applaud.
roll of the dice, and I get it, but
we didn't roll, Alan.
I can't see ripping this whole T-wall out of here. I know you don't want to hear that, Mr. Chairman, but I think we'll do more damage than we're gonna save. I think it'll cause more erosion and more
But
problems.
what their suggestion was to cut part of it down and then just put the sign.
Cut part of it down and bury the rest. So it's not cutting any of it out, they're just gonna lower some of that wall.
Would you lower it or just cut the
No, he
top
just
floor
said-
and then
I
put sign?
think we take out sections. in
That's
between
not what
where the
Danny
posts
just
are.
said.
Yeah, go down a cup, take a cup, you
Well,
know,
that's,
If we
as
take-
the
Danny said
engineer, that's
just
what I
take a piece out
recommend.
and bury it, so leave the rest of it in. So the linear foundation remains, and the part below the grade remains, you just won't see it. All you'll see sticking up are the little squares.
Yeah.
Which makes it perfect, you don't even need sonotubes now.
And, yes.
But you can come along later on and put the wall back.
Not if the order of conditions say you can't.
we're not gonna do that.
I'm in favor of the suggestion that they cut between where the sonotubes were originally gonna go.
So you're
Cut
gonna
that
have them
a
do
little bit.
this,
Yeah.
and put dirt in the center, and leave this sticking up, and leave the post on it, and go back and cut this like this, and fill that in again.
Well, we're talking
Yes.
about 8 inches.
Yeah.
If that's what you're willing to, is that all reinforced also?
But
You
it's
cutting
not-
rebar?
But if we're only going down 8 or 9 inches, we won't be getting into the crossbars. Because,
Okay.
I mean, I built that strong beyond belief when I saw what happened to those sonotubes. I mean, it's really.
Okay.
I would do that as a compromise.
Okay, but you're gonna go in there with what, a mini excavator, what are you gonna go in there with?
No, for what we're talking about, I'll go in there with a chop saw and a small jackhammer and take that out, because I
You
can
gotta
cut
dig
both
it
sides.
up.
I can cut both
No.
ways.
Oh, I see what you say,
It's
okay.
taking only the 8 inches that are pretty much above.
So you're
grade.
gonna put the cutout just below grade.
Yeah.
Correct,
So the whole linear, footing stays,
correct.
and actually the bulk of the wall stays, except it's gonna look like a pumpkin. It's gonna have cutouts like teeth.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you're not gonna see that.
Right.
Nobody's gonna see that.
If you wanna go along with that, and you're okay with it, and the rest of the
I
board
think
says
that
yes.
That's a compromise that accomplishes somewhat what we talked about with the sonotubes, so what his original plan was. It does give him the stability that the sonotubes didn't. But I think it also sets a precedent that you're not gonna be able to do.
You're gonna mark that
We'll
up,
mark this up, get it signed.
and this one will be the signed copy,
Yeah.
and you'll
Let's
make a
see.
little drawing.
Anybody else on the board have a?
You wanna ask for a
I'm
plan?
just, my only concern, and I'm certainly not a
You
structural
wanna ask for an
engineer,
engineer plan?
is that going
No,
to
we do.
compromise the stability of the deck in any way?
No,
It will not?
No.
All right,
It's
so the
not
deck
going
will
to.
be safe no matter which way you do it? Okay, because that would be a concern. We're not, don't want to tell you to do something that could possibly,
the finish will look like square sonotubes,
Yes.
Right.
okay.
is what you'll see, instead of a
long
whole
as it's
linear
structurally
foundation.
sound,
For
that was
safety,
my
we
concern.
through-loaded through those 10-inch I-beams, so it's not gonna go
I don't
anywhere.
want to see
As far
anything
as the
happen to
slope is
someone.
concerned, this is the best solution
I
now
think that
because
the
of what
slope
they've
is a
done.
great solution.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think the slope's good.
Yeah, as long as there's no structural issue.
Anybody else have a,
Dan?
Dan?
I share Peg's concern. I would like something from the owner's engineer, just to confirm from their end that this solution in no way affects the integrity of the structure from a safety standpoint, because that's not in our purview.
Right.
Right.
Well, I would like to see it,
Stamped report,
I would like to see a revised.
delineating what's there and that's
Yes.
sufficient for the decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say that
Because
we
that's
did
not
something.
that's not our place to.
Yep.
No, but the concern is that that deck is just as safe as it can be.
Yep.
I would like to see a revised elevation on what the full width of that, wall would be, you know, where the cutouts are.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I got you, okay.
All right.
The fact
So that
the
means this
fact
gets
that
continued again?
If you want another plan.
Do you want another plan?
Yeah,
yeah.
we have to continue.
So would we be willing to lift the stop work order
I
and
think
let
so.
him
I think
continue
we've come to
on,
an
and you come in
agreement.
2 weeks with a, can you do a revised plan in 2 weeks?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I think that we would lift the,
And you'll sign off on the integrity of doing that work, as far as
well,
that's
he can
concerned.
do the other
Oh, you can stop the other stuff.
You can stop the-
trenching and
Slope.
dropping the
Yeah.
walls under the slope.
So we can lift the stop work order, and pending
Yeah.
the revised plan for the foundational wall and the cutouts for the deck, but he can continue on with the rest of this current plan
With the
for what he's doing
slope,
for the
yeah.
slope.
And anything else in the house.
You okay with that?
I'm fine with
We
that.
can turn that into a motion.
Okay? Jim just turned it into a motion.
Jim
Okay,
just
then I'll
did.
Wait a
second.
second.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to,
Get it right.
to lift the stop work order, on 201A Tremont Street, so that work can continue, and we are expecting to get on, at our October 20th meeting, a new drawing showing the elevation of the retaining wall with cutouts made below grade where the sonotubes would not have been on their original plan.
For the deck.
The deck.
But the rest of this drawing can apply.
Yes, yeah, dropping the two
Yes.
existing.
And you can work on
that
that.
action.
Trenching.
The
and
current
dropping
drawing can apply with the exception of the
Sure, it's all right.
existing concrete foundation for the deck. That's gonna be modified at the next plan. But the rest of this plan can apply.
that.
You okay with that, Danny?
He can work on the slope and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You wanna?
Are we okay?
You all right with that?
We think we're good.
Okay.
You wanna make a note on this?
Yes, we will mark this up.
We'll get you the revised plans prior to the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for the
That's fine.
sake, we're not gonna have much low water this year, it's looking. When that water drops, I'm gonna be calling people on the phone saying, can we go to work?
That's fine.
And the other thing, just so we don't get back in this corner again, the guys at Taylor Rental in Wareham, they have an excavator that's all set up for going out on the beach. It's got the right oils, it's got the right filters, it's got the right lines, it's got everything. That's how we get this done in 1 or 2 days.
Probably a wide track, real wide track.
Yeah, and it's totally certified. As a matter of fact, the guy from Wareham was here tonight, but they are all set up to go out on the beach, and we've taken them out on the beach.
Okay. Well, you can do the solution for the
Yeah.
burying the two walls and putting in the slope. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So basically, do everything that's on this current plan with the exception of, well, actually, no, you can do everything that's on this plan because there'll be a modification for the
Right.
deck foundation.
Yeah.
So the plan, because it doesn't show any work to the deck. So this
Right.
plan can go,
Yes.
and then as a side note, we want a revision on the foundation for the
We'll make
deck.
a note on this one that the foundation is going, that
Yeah.
this foundation is going to be cut between the position of the post holding up the
Just-
deck.
We can have him, let me know when he starts, and if we wanna go out and look while he's
Yeah,
doing the work.
okay.
Yeah, let me know when you're gonna start, Danny.
All right.
Yeah. So we need to
One
call
thing,
that question.
just so there isn't additional creativity moving forward, with this project, there are there are photos of the current beach area now. So whatever equipment is there, I would assume is not also gonna be used to churn out the grasses and the natural, flora that's in the water. That's not to be pulled out.
Generally, there's not a lot that
Yeah,
close
there's
to the
hardly
shore.
any there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's gonna be some disturbance just because of the work that he's gotta do. He's gotta get the wall knocked over and buried.
Yeah, that close to the shoreline, because of the fluctuation in the depth, there's not a lot of growth there. It's mostly sand.
I would also, as maybe an amendment or just a suggestion, that whatever material you need to bring in has to come from local.
It's
Has to
gonna
be
come from Annual.
local
That's
source.
where I
Yeah,
wanna
it's gotta
get
be,
it.
'cause
Annual.
that's.
Yeah, because it's I talked to Wayne about this, that if you go out there, that's hard bottom, and Wayne's got sand, and actually, you can come and see, I did a lot of homework. I went and got 5-gallon buckets of sand from all over Carver and put it in water to see what was gonna turn into mush and what wasn't. And I got sand right out of the pond, and Wayne has a match for that almost perfect.
Right, and they're right there.
Well, just because we don't want to bring sand in from God only knows where.
Right. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. I'm not gonna say it again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Hearing none? No?
No?
It's approved 4-1.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Modify, you want me just to write?
Ready for no rain.
So let me know.
Yeah, well, so we still cut the concrete too?
This is gonna be, it's not
Yes,
useful.
definitely.
I'm gonna make a note that this has been,
Yeah, we'll probably,
there'll be a modification plan
I guess that's
as
probably-
per our discussion for the so we don't have to modify this.
I'll make sure you, I'll give you.
Gentlemen,
Danny, don't take off yet, I wanna have you sign this, maybe your engineer too, I'm just gonna make a note on this.
And Brooke, you know what else I need from you if we could? You told me about those roses and those flowers that were growing there. Well, I guess we break it down.
Yeah.
all right,
I wish you were very dive.
next up, we're going to talk about the work at 40 Lakeview Street, which is new construction. Is there a gentleman here from 40 Lakeview? Hi, how are you?
Chair, my name is
Have a
Michael
seat.
Duffy.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thanks. Thanks for seeing us today.
Okay,
Sure.
please sign in. Hi, how are you tonight?
Great, thank you. Myself.
Good, thank you.
All I said was
About-
that this plan's approved
A week ago.
as drawn. There'll be a modification.
One of our members was
existing
driving down
wall
Lakeview
for
Street
the
and
deck
noticed
for
that you had
conservation
started
discussion,
excavating
and There'll be an engineer.
for your foundation.
Correct.
So that's only
at
gonna
40.
apply to this, but this plan
And
doesn't really apply to anything.
the initial reaction of one of our members was that it seemed awfully close to the property
just-
that the
just so
town of
we're
Carver
honest.
Conservation Commission has just purchased, which is adjacent to the property. So, I was notified, I took a drive over there and, met your excavator and his coworker.
No, I get it, I totally get it.
And was basically just questioning at first the location of the foundation.
I'm gonna take this top
Your
off here.
excavator did have a plan. And I looked at the plan and they were, the position of the hole was correct. All the stakes seem to be okay. You being in a village district, I know that the setbacks are much smaller than regular residential. So, that all seemed in order. What did not seem in order was the fact that there was a huge pile of topsoil, half of which was on town of Carver property. The gentleman was pretty adamant that I didn't know what I was talking about. And actually at one point asked me if I knew who he was, as if it mattered. So anyway, that notwithstanding, we now have a lot of your topsoil
That was my concern.
on Carver Conservation
We gotta
property,
get that stamped though.
and it needs to be moved.
Yeah, we should have it.
And it needs to be moved in a manner in which the property it's on is not disturbed any further. So,
approved as
And that it doesn't go any closer to the
Because
line.
there's no
right,
modification.
and there's part two to this. We were out there today with a tape measure. All the members of the board went out today, and Brooke as well. The state guidelines for protection of wetlands requires permission of the local conservation for any alteration that happens within 100 feet of the wetland edge. There is a second pile of topsoil that was put on the north side of your hole and your foundation. And that entire pile of dirt is within 77 feet, or it starts at 77 feet away. So there's a pile of dirt in the 100 feet that we weren't aware of. There's a half a pile of dirt, big pile, 10, 12, 14 feet high on Carver Conservation land. Because there was work done within, dropping earth within 100 feet is considered alteration, is considered work. And that if that was something that you knew you needed to do, your excavator knew, he should have alerted you to come into this board with your plans and get them approved by us. In a situation like that, even though you're outside the 100 feet, there is an effect on the ground surrounding that. And we would have to have silt shields so that any kind of construction debris doesn't leach or flow downhill towards the pond. So, the first thing that we saw was after the work had been done. So, there are two things that really need to happen. Number one is that the dirt needs to be removed from the Carver Conservation property, and then we have to see what condition is underneath that, in case it's needed to be brought back up and new seeded, a wildland variety of grasses. It may be okay, because it's only been a week. It may be just fine, just let it come back. The other thing is that I think that we should probably have a plan made. Brooke, have a plan, have them come in and show us a plan so that we can understand where they have to put the protection.
Yep. We would have a plan that would show the 100-foot buffer from the top of the bank,
Right.
which we went from today, and then that would, I don't know if you want them to show you want them to show the pile that's there now, or just probably where the foundation is, then we'll know the pile is there. And then we'll know.
Foundation's about 110 feet from the
Right.
top of the bank.
Right.
So we know the
Pile
foundation's
on the
upside
back of the
down.
foundation is within the 100,
Right.
and that only creates an issue
Right.
because there's no silt sock. This could have all been avoided had your contractor been a little bit more
Well, actually, I have a site.
polite.
I'm sorry. I do have a site from Grady Consulting that does show the 100-foot buffer. So, yeah. So, it wasn't, submitted to us for any kind of filing or anything, but that was, but I think that was actually for the septic. So there was a plan that does show the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great spot. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but it shows the 100-foot buffer, okay.
Right.
And the house is out of the 100.
Estimate.
Yeah, but we measured it.
I know, but this, the plan says estimated, so it wasn't measured from the top of the bank.
But we were 110 feet, so
Yes,
give or take.
yeah.
You going to require signage for that?
But we'll get to that.
Okay.
There's no NOI for this.
Right.
So, we have a plan, but they never brought it, this is not you, by the way. We have a you've been given a plan, but they never did an NOI, they never,
Well, they didn't have to, they're outside 100 feet. So there's no reason for a notice of intent, because the foundation was outside 100 feet, that was all that, you know.
and what do we do
understand
with
that.
every other piece of property that's within 65 feet of the wetlands? On the pond? What do we do with every other piece there's always an order of conditions.
Nobody was there out, no, these people are outside, so they don't.
Yeah,
we-
the
even
house
within our
is, but the
jurisdiction.
backyard isn't.
No, but they're not doing anything right, if there's no activity right there, there wasn't anything proposed, then there's no notice of intent.
That's correct.
Right.
But now that there is activity.
No, there is, right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So this could have been avoided, is my point.
Yeah.
Yes, this could have been avoided. So those are the two things that need to happen. I don't know where you're gonna put that dirt or,
I assume that that's topsoil, that's all loam. You're gonna screen that, you're gonna put that back down.
A
You
lot
can't
of it's
put it
going back
the way
down, some of
is.
it will be taken away just because of the hole.
Right, so, but are you planning on screening it on site so you can use it? Or you're just gonna put it back down?
Just put it back down.
In its lumpy fashion that it is?
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Just a point of clarification, who would have advised me about these? Because I brought these plans to the committee back in probably October or November, December of 2020, and was issued a permit under.
Yeah, no, I mean, I looked at them and everything was outside 100 feet, because there was nothing
Right.
within the 100 foot, so it wouldn't have required you to come to us.
Which is great, I mean,
Right.
I guess I'm concerned that I wasn't made aware of any kind of conditions that we should have followed, so.
Right.
First of all, I apologize, however, I'm doing so candidly,
Yeah.
wondering why I'm being called to this committee.
Well, we didn't set any conditions, because you didn't need, if you look at that plan, nothing is within our jurisdiction.
Yeah,
In other words, there's nothing, you know, within 100 feet, so you didn't need a permit from us, so there was no conditions that you would have
right,
had to go by.
okay.
You know, if you're gonna do anything beyond that, you know, do a deck later on, and now the soil pile's within 100 feet, so that
Mm.
is kind of after.
What should have happened probably since the structure that you're building is not within our jurisdiction, is that when you went for your building permit, the building commissioner, the building inspector should have told you that there could be no activity within 100 feet. Because that's not the Carver bylaw, that's the state.
Right.
You
But
know,
Grady would have known this too, and this isn't their first
Right,
rodeo.
yeah, I know.
How many
And,
plans do we have in the files that have
right,
Grady
but
consultants?
none of these plans show where they're gonna
Anything.
put the dirt.
No, exactly.
So I think that was probably left up to your, the guy running the.
Excavator, right, right.
And he chose wrong, which is basically what happened here. So,
And to your point, gentlemen, I apologize on his behalf. I mean, certainly, I mean no disrespect to the committee by any stretch, so please accept my apologies for his
well,
actions.
I apology accepted. It was just, you know, it was not what I expected. You know, I identified who I was and why I was there, and that didn't seem to make a difference. And he got angry and almost threatening. So, you know, it wasn't a comfortable situation. You know, it didn't escalate. I walked away, but I did in fact come here to town hall, talk to the building inspector, and I think he went over and saw your guy. However, so we need to figure out a way to get the earth off the conservation property, which is 44 Lakeview, and we need to find a way to, how long do you think that earth is gonna be in those piles?
I met our builder there tonight, my wife and I, and we talked about a plan to move that because we understood the issues as you described today. And we have a plan in place to have that removed from the 100-foot line and from the
Okay.
conservation, within the week.
Okay, all right.
So, and by the way, if there's anyone that can show me the lot line, because by my estimation and our builder's estimation from the stakes, it doesn't look like it's impeding that much on the historical or the town property, so I think we need to clarify that.
We went out there
that
and
line.
measured today,
Mhm.
and actually, I went back a little bit later in the day to take pictures. I can, our property at the full width of our property, it's parallel to the fence that is
Mhm.
that goes to the town beach.
I'd rather have.
Is- we have 83 feet.
Okay, so
Looking
from the fence?
From the 83 feet from the fence, straight up.
And just restore all the land.
Looking from the water towards the street,
We'll let 'em in.
that stick
What are we gonna do?
is the property
Print
line.
this.
So it's about half and half,
Okay.
all right?
Where's he gonna?
Now, if I take a line from, the,
Let me grab the plan.
It's gonna be in the wrong place.
What?
Can I?
What?
We did look at this today. I would be more concerned with getting the material out of the 100. And I wouldn't have a big problem with him leaving the loom pile where it is till he needs it. And then when the loom pile is used up and gone, put whatever was under it back to what it looked like before, which is just gonna be raw grass anyhow. It's not like we're running out there to play badminton next week. And the man is, where is he gonna move the pile to? If he can't go on the other side, cause now he's on the other neighbor's land, he can't go in the backyard because he's within the 100, and they're gonna be putting a septic system out in the front yard. So, you know,
Okay.
I'd like to see it get out of the 100, that pile in the back, which is really small, that can be moved anywhere. And I wouldn't personally have a problem with half that loom pile sitting right where it is. It's on a lot that conservation bought, but it's no different, we're in a butter. So, but we're not living in the house, and build the house and use the loom up, and when you're all done, we'd request that it come back to the way it was when you first started.
That would seem sensible to me.
I mean, I just can't see making
It is
the
a
gentleman
nice,
jump through.
Okay.
Too many
Again,
hoops.
though, I understand that, and I think that's fair. Again, though, it is another after the fact.
Yeah,
What if we'd had a fence there?
but I blame Grady. I don't blame this gentleman.
No, I don't either, but.
Grady should have known that this is a very narrow lot, and they're not stupid, they know you gotta dig a hole. You gotta put that dirt someplace when you dig the hole. So they know they got the 100-foot marker back here, and they know that the only two places to put it is on this guy's property or on our property.
All right, I understand.
So they could have advised him
Yeah.
better than they did.
Okay.
I
That's
don't know
my
how
point.
involved they are after they do the plan though either.
I understand, but you know, my feeling is, we had talked at some point about putting a post and beam
Yeah.
fence there.
Fence, yeah.
What if the fence had already been there?
Well, then there would have been an obvious
right,
boundary.
absolutely. I mean,
But we don't have a fence.
I understand.
I think a lot of this got to where it is now, and I'll say this just the way it is because I happen to work in the real world. I think a lot of it was your contractor's attitude. And there's nothing that will tick off. Have a building inspector come in your house and give him a hard time.
You
And
don't
all of
do
a
that.
sudden, you know, you're opening walls up because he can't see raw studs and you want to be a jerk, we're going to do this. So when Savory texted me and said, this guy, you know,
Flipped out.
it flipped out and became disrespectful and pretty much, I don't care who you are, if you're a contractor on a job site and an abutter comes to you, whether it's an abutter or it's the chairman of the Conservation Commission or it's the current building inspector, why do you think it's okay to throw your weight around? This guy, you know? So this is what brought it here. This is what got us to sitting back saying, well, you know what? Okay, we can play this way. Half that pile's on our land, so now you have to move it. But that hurts you, and there's nobody wants to do that. I'd like to see the dirt come out of the 100, and I'd leave the loom where it is until you go to use it, and then put the land back the way it was when you found it.
How do the other members of the board feel about that?
I like Ellen's proposal.
Okay?
But we don't want to be a bad neighbor. Gotta have good neighbors.
It is a lot of.
He might have a nice cookout, we get invited to it.
He'll be first on the list.
You know, there's a lot of Hatfields and McCoys in town, we don't need to create another one.
I mean, it is a lot of soil, and there's not a lot of room.
And there's no place to put it. And we might need a little bit of that loom.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
A load of headlights?
It's a great,
Yes.
great price. I'll sell it to you for
There you
now.
go.
Dan?
No, I'm actually in favor of Mr. Jermaine's solution.
All right.
I would like
You
to
know, I
just
have
have
no
it-
problem with it either.
Although I gotta say, I'm kind of annoyed the way the
just read
contractor
back from the
spoke with you.
100, and then
I think that was highly disrespectful.
because I mean that aside, again,
That
it's
was
not
uncalled
his
for.
fault, but the
I'm sorry, what was?
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
I was listening to Dan, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No.
All right.
No, our goal
Yeah,
is not to be hurt by other people's actions or any of that. This isn't us thumping our chest over this issue. We have a very important role in protecting the town's groundwater, and so we're just here to be protective of the groundwater first, and then worry about feelings later. And so my feelings are never hurt when it comes to these types of things, and obviously, the other piece that I was trying to understand why maybe the contractor put it where he did, and that is that the setbacks are different in a village area than they are with the rest of the town. So other contractors might assume that it was a regular setback, that he had plenty of space to dump
Very well, maybe.
the loam. I kind of don't care, but if I'm trying to figure out why people do what they do, that would be my guess.
Right.
Because it is a tight lane, and but yeah, if that can be raked back from that 100-foot mark, that'd be great. And certainly, when I don't know what the timeline is on getting the foundation done and when you need that soil back, but
6 months ago, so.
fair enough.
Yeah, it'll
So
be spring.
as soon as possible is the answer for us.
It'll be spring.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Just one other thing while we have you here, just so that you're aware of Carver bylaws, which are a little bit more stringent than the state in some cases. We have a 65-foot buffer zone in Carver that requires any work to be done, any alteration that's done within the 65 feet of a wetland requires a variance from us, and that includes removing trees, clear cutting. The only thing that you are allowed to do pretty much within the 65 foot is to mow a lawn, or what you already have there as a lawn.
Then I would like to speak with someone about some of the trees that are there currently, coming from the street and in front of the.
Well, from the street,
From
you're
the street,
fine.
you're outside the 65, so that's.
Down on the bank is what I
Yeah,
think
down
Savory's
on the
referring
That as well, I would like to find out what our options are there.
Maybe the agent can visit with you on site.
Vista Pruning, that's right.
Yeah, you can do
Vista
some
pruning.
Vista pruning,
Vista
and if there's some
pruning.
dead trees there that are falling over and they're a hazard,
Right,
then.
dead trees can be taken down. Vista pruning is something that's allowable by the state, but basically what it is, you have to maintain 90% of the crown, of the coverage. So
Okay.
basically, it's taking 1 out of every 10 trees down, is basically what the state allows.
And would
that's-
someone come down and help me identify which ones we can?
You
Yeah.
want to
Yes.
probably file for that.
Yeah, you would need to file for that.
Great.
All right, so, this is our copy, so I'm gonna keep this, but just to follow up on what I was saying, just so you know for the future.
Great.
This is your property, this is ours. This parallel here, this is 83 feet, from that stake to that stake,
Okay.
all right, and the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are parallel all the way down, then it opens up down by the water, we have
Mm-hmm.
wire.
Yep, that's staked.
Yeah, there's a stake here and there's a stake there,
Mhm.
but this right here is 83 feet here and everywhere in between.
And is this the fence?
Existing
Fence, okay.
And it
Great.
cuts to the-
And what's the distance between here?
83 feet.
Oh, right here to here, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
and then,
This parallel area here is 83 feet long.
great,
Okay, so that's, you can use that as a measuring for anything.
very good.
You have that plan, right?
I do,
The green plan?
several copies of it.
That make it a little bit easier?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
And
you.
again, my apologies for the
No,
contractor.
there's no apology necessary.
Thank you. Are you a Carver resident already, or are you?
Not yet.
Moving here?
No.
P.O. box.
Oh, so, exactly. So we have a P.O. box. We live out of that right now.
Okay.
So we didn't get the certified letter
Right,
as we
right.
discussed.
Yeah.
Alright.
So I apologize for that as well.
Well, the post office is pretty close.
Thank you for coming in on short notice.
Yes,
By
thank you
all
very
means,
much.
by all means. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you have any questions, call Brooke, she'll be more than happy to
She's
answer it.
great
We're really
today,
not
yes.
we're not bad people. Wow.
I just didn't want to be the guy ahead of me, so.
No, you don't wanna become
Yeah,
one of
don't
them.
be that guy.
One of them, or whatever it is.
So more signage?
All right.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy. Good luck.
Thank you.
Welcome to Carver.
You ready to leave?
It's a for sale sign going up on the foundation. You kidding?
We'll buy it.
Okay, so John Mason is on 10/20, that's continued.
John.
We're gonna do the extension, Patriot Pines.
Yeah, that was the one you voted on last week, and I didn't have the actual form with me.
Do we have the
Remember you said-
form?
I got the form, so all I have to do is sign it. You wanna do all that now?
Do it right now.
All
Let's
right.
keep it going so we don't lose sight of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we can go on to the next thing, but we'll start that.
Yeah. Patriot Pines, that's 5.
Skipping, so we got the COC on Plymouth Street, right?
Yep.
Hang on a second. 553. Oh,
What was that about John Mason? He's coming in.
He's not coming, he's
No,
Not this week.
yeah, he's gonna come on 10/20.
next time.
next meeting.
This is the
553 Patriot Pines.
DEP 126553.
Yeah, that was the one you, that you voted on last week,
Right.
and I just didn't have the form for this.
Okay. Next one is the request for COC, 175 Plymouth.
That's, an old file. If the,
We need a motion.
they had
for-
an order of conditions for the septic.
We actually need a
and-
motion for the, excuse me, Brooke, we need
Oh.
a motion for that extension in Patriot Pines.
We voted on it. We
Well,
just had to
it
sign
doesn't matter, we're signing it and it's a public meeting, so we need to do that all over again. Needs to be on the
All right.
record.
All right.
Motion to approve the request for extension Patriot Pines, DEPSE 126553.
Right.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the request for extension Patriot Pines. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, 5-0.
Just a lot of trouble. I
Okay,
make a
so when-
motion, we approve the request for COC 175 Plymouth Street, DEPSE
Yeah.
126335.
Yeah, that was an old file for the construction of the septic system, and then they never got the certificate of compliance, and now they're selling the property.
Okay.
So, that's all that was,
Needs a
Okay.
second.
that's all it was.
All right, second.
Second.
Peg, second. All right, been moved and second to approve the COC for 175 Plymouth Street, DEPSE 126-335. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, 5-0. It's approved. Request for extension, 26 South Main.
Yep, that's, Michelle and, Steve Murphy's property. Remember they had a big notice of intent for all the stuff they did. Now they just need a little more time. They have to, finish a couple of things, the chicken coop. Okay, so they just wanted to get an extension just to keep the order active.
All right, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so it just gave us a couple things left to do.
I'll entertain a motion. Request to approve these.
So moved.
All right, it's been, do we second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to grant the request for extension, 26 South Main Street, DEPSE 126-571. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Approved unanimously. 129 Center Street.
Left you the clock, Chief.
Okay. You remember 129 Center Street? You remember that one?
Mm.
That's the one with the easement, and you basically denied it, but you never signed an order of conditions. So
Okay.
I think this is still, because you didn't remember, because they still had to go to zoning,
They've been to zoning.
but they're now, didn't get the answer
They
they
didn't
wanted.
get zoning.
So they're pursuing it. So what they need is they need to get the order of conditions from us, because I think that they may appeal it to DEP, I'm not sure what they do.
They can, but it was denied.
Right, but we never gave them an official denial, in other words, we never gave them order conditions denying it.
Okay.
So this is what this is, So they need to get a signed order of conditions, you know, saying, there's too, you know, there's too much work in 65. There's still zoning issues, so they really just need the form, so that when it goes to court or whatever, they'll have an official denial.
All right.
You get it? So they filed notice of intent, so they never got their order of conditions.
Okay. All right, is there a motion, please?
Yeah,
Have
I'm
we ever done
confused.
that?
We denied it.
Yeah.
You denied it, but you need an order of conditions saying you denied it, you never signed an order of conditions saying that. So they need an official order of conditions saying, no, we're denying this.
I'll make a motion, we approve the COC for 174, I'm sorry, for,
How can we sign a
this is
COC?
This is an order of
it's
conditions.
not a COC,
It's not
for
a
129 Center Street, explaining the denial
It's an order of conditions.
So it's an
and
order of
and signing
conditions,
an
not
order
a
of
COC.
conditions. So it'll be explaining the denial.
Okay.
It puts the denial in writing.
Right.
The agenda says COC.
It says COC.
The agenda says COC.
The agenda's wrong.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Oh, I'm
confused.
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm
I'm sorry.
confused.
No, I'm sorry.
All right, so,
Oh, good lord.
all right,
All
so,
right, so that's why.
Sorry about that.
SE 126614, Ashley.
all right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded to sign the order of conditions for 129 Center Street as a denial.
Okay, so that's
DEP
yeah.
SE 126-614. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
Denied unanimously.
Finally, request for COC 174 Plymouth Street, DEP SE 126-517.
That was the doggy mall that we looked at today.
Okay.
And we found
Oh, we
everything.
did we just did 175.
No, we just did 129 Center.
No, 175
We
Plymouth
did
was,
175 Plymouth Street.
that was a COC, yes, but that's a
COC.
different one.
Okay.
Yep, that was a house. This is the doggy mall.
Oh, gotcha.
Right, across the street.
How can it be across the street? It's next door to each other.
Well, not really.
Not really.
What do you mean? It's on the other side of the driveway. Was I there today?
We didn't look at 175, we looked at 174.
But aren't these here and here?
No.
The two buildings, you mean? The two buildings are the doggy mall building, that's all
That's all
174.
175.
Where's
174.
174?
174 is the doggy mall.
Both buildings, the small building that used to be the Country Mouse and the new big building.
It's both buildings, the
That's
dog
the
property.
So what is 175?
175 we didn't look at, it's
That
the
was
old
just-
fire.
That's the
septic
why.
system.
That's why.
Yeah.
We
It's across
didn't
the
look.
street.
We didn't look at it, that's an
Yeah.
old.
The one we didn't look at across the street. I make a motion, we approve the COC for 174 Plymouth Street, DEP SE 126517.
Second?
Second.
Jim seconds.
Who's on
There's so
first?
much, there's too many things on the agenda.
Moved,
You go, Ellen.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the request from COC
This is
174
already
Plymouth Street,
refused, right?
DEP SE 126-517. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
Brought to you by the gang that couldn't shoot straight.
Did I get 553 back?
Oh, what? No,
Okay.
I'm still waiting for
Oh, okay.
paperwork to come this way. This is yours.
Okay. I don't wanna lose
Here
anything.
you go. Is there any other paperwork flying? Yeah, Peg's got a check in her hand over there. She's signing papers.
This is our denial, though.
Yes.
Yes,
Not a
Yeah.
COC, it's an OOC.
no, it's not,
Okay.
sorry, that was on the agenda, wrong.
Next up is discussion of the timber poles being used for the solar projects on Tremont Street and Rochester Road. We have correspondence as part of what Brooke provided to us from
Solar
Weston
company.
and Sampson's.
Yeah.
From Pine Gate Renewables, and from another one from Weston and Sampson.
Still they come.
That discusses the use of the timber pilings for the two solar projects that Pine Gate is doing in Carver. The one by 340 Tremont Street, which is by the Berry Guys, and the one on Rochester Road, 62 Rochester Road. There have been some questions raised about the use of pine, timber, and we reached out to the solar company and asked them to provide some documentation about the safety of these poles. Brooke, is there anything you want to add on this?
I mean, it was, well, as we know, this was not what we originally, approved. But when they went to do the work, so I understand, when they went to do the work on Tremont Street, they determined that the peat in the bog was too deep, and the you know, the regular helical pilings wouldn't be stable enough, so they went to the timber piles. So it was, you know, decided kind of as a, you know, as a practical measure when they went to start the construction. I understand.
All right.
And then once we found out, then you did a site visit, we all did a site visit. And then we had Sarah, you know, supply us with more information on the pilings. So.
All right, I think that what we probably need to do is have the solar company and Fields and Thomas
Yep,
come in to a future meeting
yep,
to explain in detail not only their reasons for doing this, but all of the safety ramifications of using the piles,
yep.
the timber piles, which are frankly just regular telephone poles.
Yep.
So I think that that's,
So we can have them come in on the 20th?
if they can do that, yeah.
I got the statement, they're pressure treated telephone poles, they're not just the normal ones that you see other places.
All right, this is a discussion, this is not a public hearing. So,
Okay.
we will post when we're gonna have these people come in. So, yeah, if they can
Okay.
be here on the 20th
Yep.
of November. Yes.
Just to make it a productive discussion, I had a couple questions I'd like them to come prepared to answer, and one is, these are treated poles, and they talk a lot about how the treatment makes the poles last, which is great for the project and for them. But in terms of what's leaching into the drinking water, or potentially leaching into the drinking water once they do start to break down, is an answer I think this body should be, you know, have some answers for.
I think there was something about, wasn't there something where they tested them? I think there was, you know, something in one of the things.
Yeah, but
that
again, I
they-
mean, going
they
through
had tested
what
them.
they sent was more like based on the treatment, it makes
Oh,
them
okay.
last longer, which is,
Yeah.
you know, great, and I understand why they would want them to last longer, but of course, the other piece is, and this is more to, coming back to us for permission, and that is that the diameter of each pole is 2 to 3 times the thickness of what was the original design, therefore taking up 2 to 3 times more impact into what the system is gonna cause overall. So
Well,
that's,
that would be taken care of in replication.
yeah, okay,
We
well,
would have to replicate the square footage of the resized.
Yeah.
my main thing is any adverse effect to area drinking water based on what may or may not leach out of these treated pools.
Okay.
If we could just have an answer to that, that'd be great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, there are a number of questions I think that we should ask.
There's a comment here that the EPA has recognized the continued use of CCA for industrial uses and includes foundation piling, marine piling, and structures, utility poles, and construction poles in the list of approved industrial uses. Do we have a list of the approved industrial uses? So we're gonna need that.
I have a list of non-approved, which include farming, water, food,
I
fire.
actually have one of the tags with me if you want to read the back of it.
I know what the text says. Where the piles are expected to be in the service in a fluctuating freshwater table. So that makes reference to that.
Which was it?
Says that these are recognized and EPA approved where piles are expected to be in service in a fluctuating freshwater table conditions. A treatment of 0.8 pounds per cubic foot CCA is recommended. So, you know, we're not chemists, we're gonna need information.
Right.
Unfortunately, we've got 1,500 poles already driven in the ground.
Right.
So this creates a quagmire, because if it turns out this is bad for it, then guess what? We're pulling poles out of the ground.
Well,
Yeah.
there was a link to the EPA also somewhere.
Well, then somebody needs to get an EPA scientist in here at their expense and tell us exactly what we can and can't do here. Because none of us are scientists, and none of us know a telephone pole from a telephone pole. I mean, I got pressure-treated lumber in my deck, doesn't mean that I'm gonna bury it in a cranberry pot.
It's a different type of pressure treated lumber if it was after 2003.
So, you know.
Well, just reading some of the chemicals
I
that
know, I
they
am
use,
too.
you automatically
So-
are like, I don't want that anywhere
Well,
near me. The
that's
water
right.
I'm gonna drink, and we're all on well water here
And
for
I
the most part.
sympathize with people that are concerned, especially on, I live on Pine, so especially concerned on Rochester. I know exactly where that project is.
Wareham is, there was a Wareham Street address listed as well.
That's gone away.
Renewables.
That's gone away. That grower has opted out
Yeah.
of this program.
He's not doing that.
He's not
No,
doing that.
all they give you in the back here is that they did a small garden study,
So.
that there was no problem, but that doesn't tell us
I think that
much.
they're well within their purview to question this. I think that we
Absolutely.
are well within our purview to wanna know what the hell's going on here and what's in these poles that are being driven down 25 feet into the
Yeah,
deep.
because we never approved this. This is not the plan that we signed off on.
That's right, and these were not approved. So, and don't get me wrong, when I make this statement, I have nothing but confidence in Beals and Thomas, and Sarah Stearns has been nothing but upfront, honest. She has never, ever, ever, ever misled this commission. They went in there, the plan was to do steel. When they went in and did the soundings, they found they had 25 feet of peat. So now we're gonna need 60-foot steel columns that were A, huge, B, extremely prohibitive cost-wise, and they would have been galvanized. So this was what they believed would be a solution, but they never came back and asked.
I don't
So-
know if Sarah knew till, you know.
I don't think she knew
started
either.
doing it.
And we didn't really know until our phone started ringing with people asking if somebody was growing telephone poles. Because all of a sudden, these poles went in, and from the street, from Tremont Street, it was like, what the hell's going on here? So we didn't know either. So we got a hold of them, we did a site visit, we saw how they had gone in, and we've been given assurances. But you know, no disrespect to assurances, I want somebody else on the hook for this. Because we're not scientists.
Right.
And no disrespect to the town of Carver, but we do not need the North Carver in South Carver.
Do not, excuse me?
We
Should
do
be
not need
North
the
Carver
North
and
Carver
South Carver.
situation in South Carver.
Yeah,
Oh, the drinking water.
mm-hmm.
And you know, and who wants to know about that 25 years from now? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what happens. That's when it shows up.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're gonna issue a cease and desist on this?
What's that?
You're gonna issue a cease and desist on this? You're gonna wait until November 20th? The panels will be up, they'll be done.
Oh, not November, October 20th.
October, 2 weeks.
October 20th, no, we need October 20th meeting, but we
Still, the
could,
statement remains, so you're gonna issue a cease and desist.
we could have them stop.
I could do a stop. I don't think I'd have a problem with a stop work order.
No, I
It's
think
only
they
2
should.
weeks.
All right,
Let them get over it.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, they
think
went
that-
ahead without
I mean,
asking us.
I
Yeah,
think
you know
is-
what? This is the
3 months-
price you pay. We just did it to Danny.
Yeah,
But is Tremont Street done? I mean, are those all in?
But the panels aren't up.
Oh, okay, right.
They're still working.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd do a stop work order on both projects till we get some information and I want a scientist in it. I don't want some engineer in here who read a book. I want somebody let them go get somebody in here from a college, from a professor, from the EPA, from the DEP. I want somebody who knows a hell of a lot more than we do to tell us this is okay and don't worry about it. And then I want that in writing.
Alan, I also suggest that you get the fire department involved
possibility with solar and battery storage. If these things catch on fire, what gets leached into the water contaminates my wells.
Well, it's not even that, it goes
And
in,
we
this
can't- we can't
memorandum
contain it.
says you can't burn pressure-treated wood.
Right, but if they catch on fire, because we have a battery shortage where we're storing massive
Yeah.
amounts of solar,
Yeah.
how do we contain that as a town? We can't.
It's a good question to
And
ask.
fire
Very good
departments-
question.
Our fire department cannot handle a mass event like that.
It's a
We
good
have-
question to ask, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all.
No, maybe we can
And it-
get,
and it's-
yeah.
again-
You know me, I'm not for any of these projects, but this one's not okay. It's not okay for my kids, it's not okay for your grandkids, it's not okay for their.
I get it,
Yeah,
I get it, I really do.
And it's sneaky. This was sneaky, they know.
I think they knew
Whoever
on
did it,
Rochester
maybe
Road,
not
I don't
Sarah,
think they knew
whoever
on
did it was
Tremont until
sneaky.
they decided to do it, but I
They
think
talk
they
about
knew on
precedent.
Rochester.
Tremont was
You're
first,
so
so they
big on
didn't-
precedent, you can't allow these things to start happening with these
I think that's what we
projects.
should do, Mr. Chairman.
yeah,
Have they
permission
started
is to,
Rochester
yeah,
Road?
let's ask for
Go
forgiveness
ahead,
instead
this
of
panel's
permission.
already going in, there's
It was never
piles already
permitted
being
that way.
done.
Yeah.
Savory, can I also get like 100 copies of these sheets to have available for dissemination to the public?
Yeah,
I sent some to Ned Sheehan, I don't know if you did.
We need to have,
And I did send one to the lady in Rochester Road, I don't know if she's here, but I did
we
not.
need somebody with
I-
alphabet letters after their name to come in
Yeah,
and
that's-
tell us what's going on with this.
Uh,
And I'm serious.
Well,
yeah, do you know someone?
I know a couple,
A
but
couple scientists, or you keep it?
that specifically deal with leaching chemicals and drinking water
Oh.
issues and stuff, yeah.
And the
They come in-
composition of what's in these poles?
Of these specific kind of poles, yeah.
Would they come in, if they like read this information, would they have enough information?
I'm gonna have to get them to get one of their associates because this person's related to me.
And you have to recuse.
Yeah. But
I wanna make a motion, we issue a stop work order for these two projects on Tremont Street and Rochester Road pending
More information.
more information on the construction and composition of these poles.
we have a second.
Second,
All right, it's been moved and second to issue a stop work order for 62 Rochester Road and 340 Tremont Street in South Carver.
And they're both Pine Gate, right? Those
They're both Pine Gate,
Gate.
Pine Gate renewables.
Then you can add that into the motion.
yeah, and should we invite a member of the fire department to come over here and, at that next meeting perhaps, they would have some valuable input?
But we can expand that motion pending information from a professional source uninvolved with this project.
Objective.
Yes, we need an objective
I
opinion.
don't need the engineer who designed it coming in
Yeah.
telling me it's okay.
From an
Right.
objective,
Yeah,
I need
An
somebody who
impartial-
hates this project.
Well,
to come in
you
you
and
want
tell me
someone
it's
who's
okay.
impartial.
impartial, yes.
And I think the fire, well, we need somebody from the
I
fire
agree.
department too.
Regarding the
Well, the
battery.
lieutenant's here.
Oh, well, this is true.
On the 20th. Oh, then Ellen can come.
Can you put the fire out?
Can you come?
That's a
When they burn, do they put out easy?
very in-depth question.
It says right in here, and I just happened to read it, because we had to pay stupid money to get rid of pressure treated from the old deck, because you can't burn it. You know, Gene was gonna go throw it out in the fire pit, no, you can't. And it says you can't burn it,
Why can't you?
because of the chemicals. in it.
Chemicals will be released.
The chemicals wind up getting released.
And they
It's
go into the
toxic
air and.
gas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Into the air.
And it releases the arsenic that it's treated with, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
treated with chromium and arsenic.
Oh,
So it
Awesome.
it releases the arsenic into the water,
The
which then
special,
contaminates, and if it's based on a
Right.
wetland,
Yeah.
it exponentially contaminates.
Right.
And you can't contain it.
so the two specialists I was referring to specialize in arsenic and drinking.
Oh, okay.
So
And you think
that's,
they would be able to come?
yeah.
But if it does catch fire, then what happens?
Well, that's another story.
Go the other
I
way.
think that's probably further down the line.
That's a secondary issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, I realize, but to
Yeah.
your
Disposal.
point, it's a concern.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the stability of, well, first of all, the stability of Carver's grid is interesting at best. And if the sun is shining and it happens to catch fire, they don't, because you're always, the panels that aren't on fire continue to pump energy into the batteries, which exacerbates the fire, which makes it more difficult to put out.
Right, there's no off switch in the
There's no
solar
off
panel.
switch to solar.
That is correct. There's no off switch in the
So
solar.
if it starts, it better start at night. And good luck.
See, I have a problem with this statement that says the data is consistent with the study stated above with a small garden that UCA treated wood.
Small garden.
In conclusion, the study of available literature does not provide any evidence that the treatment of timber piles would have a negative impact on crops in the vicinity of the timber piles.
We'll define a small garden.
Okay, so, but this is based on our best guess.
Yeah, nothing's gonna
and
happen.
that's where it's at.
So any leaching would occur within immediate vicinity, so how do they know that?
Well, define immediate vicinity, is that?
Yeah, they don't
here in
tell
the
us how
next
small
bowl,
is a
or
small
that only
garden?
4 berries away? So the 5th berry you can eat, but you can't have the 4th berry.
No, it says nothing really.
Okay,
So where are we?
You're
There's
gonna
a
get your
motion
expert
and a
to come for
second.
the next.
No, that, but.
right, I want them to bring in someone who is an expert on water also, and our aquifer, and what is between the peat level and the aquifer, because I believe the aquifer is about 80 to 90 feet deep, and these poles are going down a maximum of 45 feet. What's between them? Is it a clay layer that's gonna protect the aquifer? What is underneath there? So these are questions that have to be answered. What is the possibility of anything that leaches getting down into the aquifer, which is where people's drinking water is?
You also would have to know what sort of pesticides are gonna interfere with any kind of coating that might be on those poles that would reduce the effectiveness of the coating.
Good
To
question.
contain it, as well as the average pH, because the pH can affect the coating,
Yeah.
as well as how it release.
It's a good question.
I mean, I do have a degree in science.
Okay.
Call
I think that it should be incumbent upon Pine Gate to bring in, at their expense, the experts, including dams.
it. Oh yeah, we're not paying for it.
Nope.
Would your guys be,
That's what motivates them, is a stop work order.
that's work for them, right?
Yeah,
That
of
they
course
would
it
be-
is. They should receive an
They
honorary.
can find an
for that.
outside source if they have to, but
Yeah, let them pay them an honorarium. This is not what we
So-
approved, they went ahead and did it. Now
I
they
don't
have
want
to
the,
justify
I don't
it.
want the, I don't want the appearance that they've been bought.
No, that's just true. But
So-
they're impartial, they have no,
No, the only information that I'd be getting, I think would be more useful is because it would have nothing to do with this particular case, but is published materials on this specific issue.
yeah.
That way it is a
Right.
balanced view prior to this being a known issue to anyone.
Right.
Specifically focused on arsenic, how it can leach out of these these materials, and how it affects groundwater and at different ground water table levels as well. This is information that's been published with work done in India, in North Africa, in the United States as well, and Massachusetts, including Massachusetts. So there's some good precedent that we can have to refer to.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't have them come in, I just think that if this is what they do, then they should be
No,
compensated.
but I don't want there to be any appearance of anything but a balanced look at the facts. That's it. So
Right, not necessarily this case, but just the overall.
the issue, yeah.
Okay.
So can you pull all that off? Pull all that off?
I'm trying to think of how the best way to do it.
Well, you get a hold of Sarah Stearns and lay this in her lap.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
This is, the
Is
stop
that
work
even-
order will get their attention, believe me, the phone will ring.
I know, that's why I'm not,
That usually wakes everybody up.
I think I'll talk to Sarah and see.
This is where we're at with it, this is what you have to do, I'm
This is gonna
sorry.
be- This is gonna be a big deal. so-
Well, then it's gonna be a big deal.
Well, because it is a big deal, and it's
Because
something
it is a
that,
big deal.
it's something that I'm looking forward to addressing, only because, not because I want to see this happen or not happen, but because we're having a real conversation about the hydrological effects of projects in this town in general. Whether it's 10 feet or 100 feet from wherever, the fact that it is a three-dimensional problem, not just one distance, but a three-dimensional problem. So, so I welcome the
It's
dialogue.
also again, it's an after the fact. This could have all been avoided in the very beginning, with a modification being made, and then these questions being asked before the first pile was driven into the ground or the first phone call was delivered. It's not our fault that you changed the rules and bought 4,000 phone poles.
Right,
Sorry.
okay.
No, we didn't approve it. Not what
All
you
right.
told us you were gonna
So
do.
anyway, we have a motion and a second to issue a stop work order and also to have Pine Gate Renewables and a representative of their engineer, along with subject matter experts, to attend our next meeting. The stop work order will be effective immediately, and we'll ask them to be at our meeting on October 20th.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes, opposed.
Opposed? All right, it's passed 4-1.
Yeah, I have the contact, Julian, who, she's from Highgate. She's the one who had Steve Weiss send his memo.
Okay.
So I think she's the contact for them, and then I'll contact Sarah
Yeah.
and see, about getting her to come in, and then maybe she can, talk to them about getting experts and things, so I can
Okay.
talk to them about it, yeah.
All right. So that takes care of that. We're running really late. Is the Montele Street minor modification easy?
It's this right here. Yep, all they're doing is they're making if you read his memo, they're changing the size of the culvert that's going on the road.
Yeah.
So, and it's basically actually gonna end up to be less disturbance, and it's a better culvert. So it's basically the same, it's better as far as wildlife goes and.
Motion to approve the Montele Street minor
It's a
modification of the
practical-
culvert as drawn on
Yeah,
this
a practical
memo
change.
dated October 1, 2021.
Okay,
It's like
second.
It's like a practical change.
All right.
Yeah.
Do we have a
Instead of having
second?
to amend the
Second.
water.
Peg seconds? All right, it's been moved and second to approve the minor modification to the Montele Street culvert. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
I'm gonna,
Approved unanimously.
we're gonna sign this letter.
Okay.
When are those plans dated?
This is.
October 1,
Perfect, thank you.
2021 is this modification date.
Perfect, thank you.
It's like memorandum that has the.
I just like to stick the date in there. Thank you.
Okay, so we're running an hour late. Luckily, the Red
That's
Sox.
what
are
happens when
playing
you
tonight.
load up the, what's that?
Oh, holy smokes.
These are all yours. Just start doing business discussions at the
Okay.
end of the meeting.
Well, these will, I should probably separate maybe the extensions, I don't know.
All right, new hearings. Existing utility right-of-way, NOI DEP SC 126-629. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 p.m. or thereabouts on Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. Oh, that it should be Wednesday, October 6th, 2021, in Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear notice of intent submitted on behalf of N-Star Electric Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, for construction of a new 115 kilovolt transmission line between the Carver substation in Carver and the Kingston substation in Kingston. The proposed work will be conducted within bordering vegetated wetlands, bordering land subject to flooding, riverfront area, and within the 65 and 100 foot buffer zone to said resource areas. The project qualifies as a limited project under section 10.53/3 of the WPA regulations. A variance from the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, section 9.2.1.3/3, is required for the activities within the 65-foot buffer protected under the bylaw. The project is located within the existing utility right-of-way, Carver, Massachusetts, map 59, lot 7. All interested parties are invited to attend.
They signed both pages?
I did not sign
Somebody did.
I did. Yeah, we got a signed page too, because there's only a staple holding it together. Please.
Hi,
Hello.
sorry for the delay.
No worries. So the green cards,
Oh my God.
they're a lot.
Whoa.
I kind of figured that. Oh wait, the plans, I made them all copies of this.
Now this,
Wonderful, thank you.
It's like 8 miles, and, you know.
yeah, there's a
That's
big
not-
deal going on with this.
There is.
Yeah,
What do you mean, what?
I'm looking.
Not here yet.
Oh, yeah, they're flipping out.
Why?
Because I got nothing.
Not because of the wetlands, for sure. Had nothing to do with the wetlands.
No, there was something put up about this. This is running through Plimpton,
And Kingston.
Kingston.
It's going to, from, Carver to Kingston. Yeah.
There's some disgruntled folks in Kingston, I think.
Well, Kingston, they filed with Kingston too. So you've had your hearing with Kingston?
We had one hearing,
Yes,
yes.
yeah, yeah, I talked to the Kingston agent.
Who's told you no yet? Anybody?
No, we received our order in Plimpton, and we were continued in Kingston.
Okay.
This is all through existing easements, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
I
This
mean,
is where the
it's-
transmission lines are now?
Yes.
Which is all through wetlands already.
So you're adding
Just another
A
one.
new.
another wire?
Yep. On new poles.
We made this girl wait till 8:45 for this?
I mean, and it
It's
is
a
a
new
project
hearing.
that's, it's a project that's allowed, you know, under the
Of
state
course
regulations.
it's allowed, it's in an
right?
existing easement.
So what are the issues?
You're running a
with
new
people?
extension cord.
It's a public utility.
Oh, no, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Well, it is.
Those wooden poles along the roadside are a public utility too.
But they have to file.
And they're
because
toxic.
They go through wetlands, and the transmission lines are already in wetlands, most of them anyway, so it's kind of, you know, yeah, anyway.
All right, so go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're ready.
My name is Vivian Kimball. I work with VHB. I'm a project manager and environmental scientist representing Eversource this evening. As we just discussed, the project is a new 115 kilovolt transmission line going within the existing right-of-way. The whole project from Carver to Kingston is 8 miles. Within Carver, it's only 3.2 miles. It's basically from the Carver substation off of Main Street and Peltola Lane up to the Plimpton town line. And the new structures are going to be overhead structures on galvanized steel poles, similar to what's there now. It's the same finish. They'll be actually, for the most part, shorter than the existing structures that are there now. They're all going to be direct embedded, which means there's no, big foundations. It's going in a steel casing, pole goes in, and they backfill. So it's about a 4-foot diameter pole. In Carver, they are mostly H-frames, so there are 2 poles per structure. So you've got 2 13-foot, approximately 13 square foot poles going in. In that same right-of-way, in addition to the existing 115 kV line, there's also an existing 23 kilovolt distribution line, so there's a lot going on that right-of-way already. The new line is going to go sort of in the middle, and you can probably see that on your figures. As was mentioned in the public notice, I believe, it does go through bordering vegetated wetlands, buffer zones, bordering land subject to flooding and riverfront area. There are no stormwater features proposed, and there should be no changes in discharge rates, as these poles have a fairly small footprint, and everything will just infiltrate the way it does today. The only real stormwater standard that would apply is standard 8, which relates to construction phase, erosion and sedimentation control, which will be taken care of via best management practices like silt fence and straw wattles. So access for the work will be primarily from the public roadways. Within the right-of-way, they'll use the existing gravel access roads. There are some locations where they may have to improve those roads by adding gravel or doing some minor grading to flatten out flat, low areas. In areas where they need to access through the wetlands, there will be temporary construction matting put down so they don't, rip it up. At each structure, they will need approximately 100-foot by 100-foot work pad, and that will be sort of set up, and it gives them space to do all the structured work. And they may also use construction matting in addition to wetlands for those work pads and lawns or areas where the topography is uneven and they need to sort of create a flat area to work from. So as I mentioned, they're going to drill the holes for the structures. They'll typically be 5 to 15 feet deep. They put in the steel casing, put in the pole, and then backfill with compacted material. They'll also be burying ground wire around the poles, and once the poles are in place, they'll pull the conductors into place. You'll see on the figures that there are a few places where there's designated pulling areas. They're typically at angles in the line that they need to pull through the angle. So there are some matting impacts in some locations for those pull pads. We will have an environmental monitor there during construction to make sure that all the work is being done in compliance with environmental permits, and that best management practices like silt fence are being maintained and cleaned out as they need to be. And then once all the construction is finished, they'll restore all the disturbed areas, seed and mulch if it's necessary to make it fully stabilized. And once the construction mats are removed from wetland areas, those areas will be allowed to revegetate since the existing seed stock will still be there, and they typically do so pretty quickly. If necessary, if there did happen to be some, if the mats sank in a little bit and they need to flatten it out, the wetland scientist will instruct the contractor to make those amendments. I was going to go through every structure impact, but it's been a long night for you.
I don't think you need to do that.
Just a quick question, so are they doing this because they need more power, or are they fixing it because they're old structures?
Oh, no, they're all new structures going in, and it's a reliability project, and so when the sort of regional planning agency, energy planning agency identified that there's a reliability issue, I'm not a planner, so I don't fully understand this, but my understanding is that there can be low voltage conditions and thermal overloads in the system, and they need a new line to resolve that.
So they need to do the new lines to get, okay.
I assume this is also gonna have something to do with the proposed battery storage project that's gonna happen on the other side of that substation.
I don't know, but
Also with Pilgrim shutting down, they're gonna have to
Right.
reroute how power gets distributed.
Right.
But it's already in an existing easement,
Yeah.
power line,
Yeah.
so
Already disturbed.
they're running a new extension cord.
I think the one thing that I would bring to your attention is we have one location where we have permanent wetland impacts. Pole number 13, it has to be installed in the middle of a wetland because it's a really long wetland stretch and they can't span it. So there will be 26 square feet of permanent impacts
I
from
saw
those
that on the
poles
thing.
going in. And we propose to do replication on the other side of that same wetland next
I
to
saw
Plymouth
that.
Street.
That's where you have that stretch of swamp matting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they'll need to mat to get out to that pole location
Okay.
also.
Okay.
Yeah, they're showing it here, 26
Yeah.
square
Yeah.
feet
Yeah.
It's on page
replication.
4, page 4 of 6.
Listen, they did their homework. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is before. They could have done the whole job and come back in and said, this is what we did.
And
Isn't
nobody
this
would ever
great?
know, and nobody would ever know, right?
They're using steel, they're not using,
Just out of curiosity, on page 4, this is between poles, work area 14 and 15. You have a access, I see from Gate Street, but there seems to be a extra loop outside the corridor, and I was wondering why
Is that the one that goes south?
Yeah, it goes, yeah.
Yeah, so that's so that they can get around that wetland to the other side of, to the structures on the other side.
So 15's what, up on a hill or something like
Yeah,
that?
so
Oh, okay.
they can not have to swing down.
yeah, they got solar panels going in there, right?
That's the solar panel, the
Yeah,
Gate Street
that's
solar
what I
panel.
thought.
Or
Yeah,
I guess it's not, it's east.
So it's
yeah, so that's all solar panels now,
Okay.
so they gotta loop around.
What's the matter?
Dan was just asking about the access road that's south of the proposed line over by the Gate Street house. Page 4.
I think somebody wants to go home.
Sorry, that was me. Being very awkward with the giant plans.
I'm just gonna have to.
Alan, make it like I have a rep or something.
Going south with the.
That's why I don't get a real
Just
table.
questioning what that
They
is.
they stick me over here in the wing, yeah. I wear Birkenstocks sometimes too.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a trail.
It's over here too. There's more dotted lines. It's a Badger Nature Trail. That's what Brooke just told me.
Hey, they're gonna have cows grazing.
Runs
on
down
it,
and connects to the
seriously.
Badger Bridge.
They're planting hay between the solar panels, and gonna have cows come in and graze. Yeah?
You aren't gonna change your mind and make these wooden poles at the last minute, are you?
It does say proposed access. Is that what that is? That this says
The yellow dotted
proposed,
lines are
proposed access?
proposed, yeah.
You know better from listening to the left.
So that's the dirt track for the quads.
Well, that too, but
ATV.
And it would make sense if you look at it. It comes down a bog road. It comes around. It runs around what looks like,
Yeah, it's up on
you know, down through a couple piles and then around. Yeah, so it's an access road.
Yeah, those
Proposed
pretty
access.
much almost exist because of the solar.
Well, they gotta have access. Really, the
Yeah.
whole run of the entire thing's got an access.
Right, but this area on either side of this is solar, yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
so.
So the last question I had
Oh boy.
is, regarding that proposed access area, is that gonna, when you're done, that's just gonna grow back in, or is that gonna be left gravel or?
I actually, we don't know yet. The contractor will have to see what the conditions actually look like when they go to build it. Yeah, depending on how sandy and unstable it is, they may have to gravel it, or they may be able to leave it sand.
Yeah, cause it looks like it crosses on this lower corner, looks like it crosses a brook, so I didn't know.
Yeah, well, it would be an existing culvert.
Where?
essentially.
Well, it might just be a topography
Yeah,
line,
it's
but
topography one.
it is, okay.
Oh, the gray lines are.
Yeah, it looked like
topography.
a water way, but, okay. That's it, I promise.
well, they've got all their application in there too. We gotta
I'm
leave
motion
it
to
like
close
that.
this here.
Are there anybody here to comment on this?
Make a motion to close the hearing for the existing utility right of way. NOI DEP SE 126629.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Take seconds, all right, it's been moved and seconded to close the hearing on NOI at DEP SE 126629, the utility right of way for Eversource. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
Make a motion, we approve the existing right-of-way utility NOI DEP SE 126629 as drawn on the plan dated August 10th, 2021. And would you make a note, there's 6 pages to this plan? Please.
Second?
Second.
All right, Peg seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the NOI for DEP SE 126-629. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
And there's no variance.
Yes, there is.
Oh, yeah, variance.
Yeah.
I
Well,
make a motion, we approve the variance from the Carver Wetlands Protection
you're in the
Bylaw.
wetlands and you're also within the 65, so.
Okay, I'm
you're
getting to
right,
that.
you need a variance. All right.
I was into that. We approved it.
You didn't even know. Until Savory mentioned you.
Because Dan still has me reeling over the dotted lines.
The pathway.
Make a motion, we approve a variance for the existing utility right-of-way, NOI DEP SE 126629, as drawn on the plan dated August 10th, 2021, for activities within the 65-foot buffer protected under the bylaw.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the variance for for DEP SE 126-629 for activities within the 65-foot buffer. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
I love it when we can do okey dokies. You wanna sign yours?
No, go ahead.
We should've done this one first, and you don't have to wait till like.
So I'm gonna make a note on here that this
Always
was
a good learning experience.
For all of us.
approved 5-0.
When is, just out of curiosity, when is this gonna happen?
So, we're waiting on, the final approval from the DPU. We're expecting that kind of right after the new year, right now, but that's always just kind of like,
Yeah.
that's what we're expecting.
They don't promise.
But, so we're thinking spring,
Okay.
but yeah, once we get the approval from the DPU, it'll pretty much just be kind of bidding out for the contractor and then coming in.
Yeah.
Will kind of be how it'll go, so we'll get the approval and it'll probably be a few months after that.
Would they generally work linearly or start from each end and move towards the middle?
Linear to a degree, but when you do overhead, the way that the overhead contractors kind of work is to get it done kind of efficiently. They have different crews that do different things. So the first thing that they will do linearly will be set up kind of all the different work pads. But once that's all set up, then they'll have crews that are putting in, you know, the structures, bringing structures and that kind of thing hop around. But in general, it happens linearly.
Okay.
But, yeah, they like to tell us, we like to be able to be wherever we need to be,
Yeah.
whenever we want. And I go, okay, I'll make sure the people know.
I wanted to know more for curiosity than anything else, because I don't,
Yeah, it'll be about,
When it gets around to Dan, ask one of
For the
these
whole
guys to
line.
also.
And are you all set with Kingston, or you have to go back?
We have one more hearing.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully one more hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will not presume.
Right, we're gonna ask one of you to sign this as well, this is the plan that we put in our
Would
records,
you and
so
both
that
of
we
you
know we're all
sign?
looking at the
They're
same
not
thing.
planning to take down any big
Yes.
trees this time, are they?
No, so pretty much this entire right of way is cleared edge to edge, from when they kind of did all that.
When they did that
back
last
then.
time, yeah.
So really what would happen is just through the construction process, we just have to make sure there's a proper clearance for the lines to make up for blowout, sag and stuff like that. So it might be a few here and there, but I don't.
They
in
do a pretty
Carver,
good
not
job of
really.
keeping it clean though.
Yeah, that was the thing. They unfortunately, it wasn't cleaned up for a while, which led to a lot of issues, and it was painful to take out the trees that should have never been allowed to grow in the first place.
Yes.
And we get those notifications, you know, Peg, remember the Peg, we used to get the notifications.
Oh, yeah,
for the
I do.
vegetation management.
Yeah, they
plans.
went through
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
They did this quarter, veg management went through
Yeah,
last year.
we get
So,
those regularly, yeah,
helpful to us from a construction standpoint.
yeah.
Could I ask you to sign in too, please, if you have?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, that's running around, and make a motion, we approve the minutes of September 15,
Wait, we have a
2021.
we have a continued hearing, don't we?
No, they've continued, they both continued. So it's minutes.
Someone else 287, 3 months, not till November 17th, 318 is here. That's the additional information they asked for,
Right.
we asked for last time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, so,
so nothing else new.
Why am I missing?
it's the one after, the one about.
I apologize.
Amazing.
Oh, he looks
It's
like someone I
coming
went to
around.
high school with, and it was like totally
That's the
weirding me
game.
out.
I don't know who has it.
Oh, okay.
Who has the plan?
He's got every,
It's here, right here.
Right here,
Vote's
is
already-
it? All right.
Vote's already come
Let's
through,
get
but
your
I was
autograph so
gonna
we
ask
can
if you
get you
thought
out
any
of here.
habitat for perhaps some new
I'm sorry, I
regular
thought,
tutors anywhere along the.
Yeah, that's all right.
Although I
That's-
don't know
that's-
that we were looking for it.
When is 287, Brooke?
But
November.
November.
November 17th.
Thanks.
All right, did these
Yeah, you're right.
two ladies have a chance to sign?
Not yet. I was waiting for it
Okay.
to come around.
Just wanted to be necessary, that's all. Looks much better. If you look from here.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to make you wait so long.
Alright.
We're a popular board sometimes.
Very busy.
Not usually.
Not usually.
Thank you.
Save we went on vacation, we had nothing going on, it was very quiet.
Depends on your definition of popular.
You? What do you want to do with these?
That's, go back to what it
Is that the, which was that?
That's the end.
It's not the signed ones.
Oh, no,
No,
look at it.
I can get rid of it, I just want to get the signed one, that's one that counts.
This is one page of the one, because the other half of this was signed. The only one we're keeping is the one that's signed.
The sign of the-
Well, this looks great.
Oh, yeah, believe me, it includes everything we talked about.
This looks real good.
Trying to address everything.
Mm.
For the record, Brad Bertolo, JC Engineering, on behalf of R.W. Bryant. At the previous hearing, I took a lot of notes in regards to comments this board or commission had requested. On the plan, I have shown highlighted the green area along the southern boundary is the same proposed mitigation area. The yellow area is the area of pavement that was added within the 65 feet. That was the only work that was had taken place within 65 feet. So we're proposing to remove all that pavement and revegetate with a erosion control seed mix. On the eastern boundary, after looking at the topography of the areas around the building and where new pavement was added, some of that topography pitched runoff towards the bogs. So we're proposing a grassed swale, which would actually be a erosion control seed mix.
Yeah, I like that.
So there will be some site work required to regrade that area, but if you look at the proposed grading, I believe it's no more than about a foot depth that will be disturbed to create this shallow swale. The high side, the back side of that swale is proposed to be revegetated in the same manner as the southern boundary. That takes care of, again, that work would be within 65 feet. After looking at some aerial photography, because we were there after site work had been done, it appeared that all that area was grass anyways. So this additional planting of shrubbery would definitely benefit the area between the bog and the current parking lot. Along the southern boundary, the pavement will be saw cut right at the original location, and we're going to add Cape Cod berm similar to what's there today. Just try to avoid water from that parking lot from pitching south, trying to maintain at least as much runoff draining towards that current drainage pond that's in the southern corner of the property. In regards to future visibility of where this no-touch buffer is, we're proposing a split rail fence along
I like that.
the 65-foot buffer along the back. And because the 65-foot buffer along the south runs through the pavement, we're proposing it to be just south of the pavement. It's an orange line on plan. It might be hard to see, but
I see.
that'll run from basically front property line back towards the drainage basin. And that, again, because of that fence and the area being vegetated with a erosion control seed mix, basically it should revegetate naturally and shouldn't have any disturbance in the future. Same goes for the back along the eastern boundary. I am proposing just a normal loam and seed mix between the pavement and the 65-foot buffer, just to replace the grass that's there. Anything that's within the 65 feet is proposed to be that erosion control seed mix.
Well, on that split rail fence, I'd like to see him put like 4 or 5 of those wetland signs. They can just stick them right on the
Yeah.
fence.
Right on the post.
Right on the post.
Yeah.
The only other question that I have, and this is a great job.
Yes.
I'm looking at security fence, bottom fence that's set to be 6 to 8 inches above the ground. Is that gonna be okay with everybody on the committee? Because we're not doing the
That
critter
was-
fence.
That was.
Critter fence would be 6 by 4, so this gives more
Yep.
space, 6
That-
to 8, but
Yeah.
that compensates
Yeah.
the 6-inch.
It's gonna be a 6 to 8 above. I don't think they're doing a critter fence. I think they're doing, he's talking the chain link is gonna
That's
go
fine.
with
The critter
6 to
fence
8.
The critter fence is.
So you're okay with that?
Critter fence, as long as
Okay.
it's
That's
up
all I
above,
want.
it doesn't matter.
Is
Yeah.
a critter fence anything different? Or they just provide holes?
No,
It's a
usually what they
6x4
do is they
grid.
take a 6x4 and they run it right down to the ground, so it's still, a small animal can get through the fence. But you're setting this fence, according to this, at 6 to 8 inches
Right.
above grade,
Which
So
is,
you're leaving.
which leaves the
more
whole
space.
bottom open, so they can
Oh.
come and go.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
so
Yeah,
that's
I'm
perfect.
fine with
Even
that.
better.
That's actually, better,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is better.
yeah.
So I'm good. I think this plan is fabulous. The only thing I would ask that we add to it is the signage on the east on the split rail fence. I don't.
Put that as an order.
Yeah, I'm not even really concerned with signage on the southeast side or the southwest side, whatever the hell that is.
So a couple of the plaques.
Because that's going to be the end of the pavement. It's going to be pretty obvious anyhow. But there'll be a fence there on the
Yep.
back, so
Okay,
and bogs right behind it.
all right, that's fine.
So that's a yes to the ones on the east. Okay.
So we add the plaques to the,
Hmm?
Right, and the plaques are, you know what they are, little
Yeah.
wetlands.
yeah,
plaques.
the little no disturb
Just a-
plaques.
a few.
Yeah.
At $3,000 a piece, you need 5.
And check those too.
Yeah, and 5 checks.
Yeah.
We're kidding. Gotta be very careful today. This is on camera, we're kidding.
Okay.
So did you say like 4 to 6 signs, is that?
I think 5 would do it
5
across
left.
this evenly spaced, one at the corner of the property, one at the other corner where the split rail makes the corner, and then evenly spaced the other 3.
And that's on the easterly side, that side of it.
It's on the easterly side where they're, yeah, putting the split rail fence.
Yeah,
On the easterly side, okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
So
the
I'll just put that in the order.
yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't, you don't really need to add it on later.
All
No,
right.
just have to notify the clients, because nobody reads what is the conditions anymore, so.
True.
Whether
We
we
already
can put
know
anything
that.
we want.
We got them downstairs, they're just small plaques, and usually they go on a 4x4 post, but if you're doing split rail, you can put them right on the post of the
Yeah.
rail, of the post for
Yeah.
for the fence.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna close it.
Anybody else have any comments on this?
No, looks good.
This is great. This is,
Yeah, I like this.
yeah,
Good
it's just what
job.
we asked for. Everything has been, all the items have been checked off the list. That's great. Okay, so, entertain a motion to close.
Public comment.
Also, we'll,
I still gotta make the announcement.
Anybody here from the public make a comment?
Now I'll make a motion, we close the
We all
hearing.
fell asleep.
Jim made.
Jim made it.
So moved. So, second, sorry.
All right. So
For
Jim made the
DEP
motion.
126628.
Jim made the motion to close the hearing, Alan seconded it, for DEP SE 126-628, 318 Tremont Street. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none. approved
Make the
unanimously.
motion, we approve the plan dated, the revision dated October 6, 2021 for 318 Tremont Street, DEP SE 126628. As drawn, with the only addition being the signs
Yep, yeah,
on the
that's
split rail
condition.
fence at the, it'll be in the order of conditions.
So you're approving the NOI with the plans?
Or in order of plans, yeah.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, we're back with a second, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the NOI of 318 Tremont Street, DEP SE 126-628 with the plans dated October 6th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passed unanimously.
I make a motion, we approve a variance for 318 Tremont Street, NOI DEP SE 126628, based on the plan of revision October 6, 2021, for activities within the 65-foot buffer, subject to the order of conditions.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Peg seconds. All right, it's been moved and second to approve the variance for DEP SE 126-628, based on the plans submitted on the revised plans submitted on 10/6/21, as along with the order of conditions from the conservation agent. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
We'll sign.
Thank you very much.
Mine.
And you
Thank
have to
you.
sign, Eversource?
We're gonna ask you to sign
Notice?
one copy of this,
Yeah.
just so we have it
No,
for our records.
this is the-
This was great.
I didn't get the Eversource one back.
Other source is still hanging out over there.
Oh.
So I'm just gonna make a note on here for the wetland plaques.
I just don't wanna lose it.
That's
It's the other sort of stuff.
And you're gonna see the sign.
Thank you, great job.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Brett.
Yeah, very good. Really good.
And thank you for listening.
I didn't want to say after the fact.
No, no, we don't like that word
No,
anymore.
don't use those words.
It's a nasty word.
But you know what? It was after the fact, but the fact of the matter is that we asked for something and we got it. And there's things you're taking out that were put in, so this becomes a win-win. I'm sure no one's happy that you're cutting out some asphalt, but this works out that this is how we get to where everybody can work together.
Right, and it also sets the precedent, so the next person who's going to know not to pave an area. You know, unfortunately, your client's the one who's gotta undo what he did, but it's gonna help for the next guy knowing that this is the consequences if he does something similar. So
Well,
this
we
is
made him
good
do it
for
at the doggy mall.
Hmm?
Maybe we made him do it at the doggy mall.
Yeah.
So we've done it before.
We have, oh, I know that.
You wanna
Yeah.
sign this?
Okay, now you sign this.
All right, last but not
Any way you
least,
wanna sign it here?
No, the other one's continued
Minutes.
to
Your
November.
company.
Oh, minutes, my notes.
Your company did.
has everyone had a chance to read the minutes for September 15th, 2021?
Motion to
Look
approve.
good.
All right, do we have a motion to approve? Need a second?
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes.
Well, I'll second.
Whatever,
Make a
either
motion,
or.
I'll make, I don't care who makes
Either
it.
or, let's make it,
Now I'll
Ashley,
make a
you
motion,
call.
Peg seconded. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of September 15th, 2021 as written. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we're approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks,
And
thanks
we're
for waiting.
done. So do I have a?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I like
Second.
All right.
I like the way you talk.
Motion
Oh,
to
I have a
adjourn.
quick-
Motion to
I
adjourn.
have a quick thing.
Okay.
After we adjourn.
I have
Motion
it-
to
all right.
adjourn.
Second.
I can go, yeah.
All right, it's been moved
It's
to adjourn,
unanticipated.
and moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're out.
We're still carrying
Okay,
this.
thank you.